Hey guys, Chris from Hockey Tutorial here, and today in this video we're going to be taking a look at the Bauer Supreme Ultrasonic skates, which are the top spec skate from the Supreme range, and the two models below to explain the real differences between them. Please bear in mind, if I don't cover anything in the video in terms of the skate's construction, it means that there's not enough of a significant difference for me to mention it in this video. But if you have any questions, pop your comments down below if there's something that I've not covered that you are extremely interested in finding out. This is part of a series where we look at all manufacturers' skates and explain the difference between the top spec skates and the models below. So if you want to see the other videos that we've shot like this, click down below in the video description to find the link to other videos that we've shot like this one. Of course, the Vapors are going to be next, so before you ask about those in the comments, that video is coming. Without further ado, let's jump into it. But quick one, before we get into the video, make sure you thumbs up, subscribe, and turn the notification bell on so you can stay up to date with all of the videos that we post. And make sure that you click on the link down below to head over to our Instagram and Facebook and follow us there, because we post pretty much daily on those apps. Let's jump in. As always guys, we're going to start at the base of the skate and work our way upwards. Very similar to any other videos that I've shot that are like this, if I don't mention any particular features, it means that they are the same or there's not a significant enough of a change to mention them. So to kick this video off, we're going to be looking at the runners that all of these skates have. If we start off with the Supreme 3S, these over here have the LS Plus runners. And as we move over to the 3S Pros, these feature the LS Pulse runners, and as we move on to the ultrasonic skates over here, these feature Bauer's LS Pulse Titanium. Now the difference between the runners on these skates are your traditional stainless steel. As we move over to the 3S Pros, this features the steels that have what you could call an almost mirror-like finish that helps with glide and general stride efficiency on the ice. These particular types of runners don't create as much drag, so the blade is able to cut and glide through the ice with a little less effort. And as we move over to the titanium runners over here, so other than the titanium coating looking much cooler than the other options or the traditional silver or even black runners that are out there, the titanium coating actually has a performance benefit, which is it being able to retain its edge life much longer and also offering better grip on the ice. It's also a much more consistent runner in the sense that it's able to handle wear and tear of the game much better. So you're going to notice a significant difference in the amount of edge life that you get out of this runner and its ability to withstand the general wear and tear of the game. So this runner is a big upgrade from what we see over here with the mirror finish runners in the LS Pulse, and also the traditional stainless steel runners that we see in the 3S skates that have essentially none of the performance benefits that we see in these two models over here. As we move up into the holder of all of these three skates, they're using the exact same holder, which is the LS Edge, which features that trigger that allows you to switch out your steel in a few seconds if you break a blade or you need to replace your runners for whatever reason. So it's the exact same across all of these skates over here. Now, when we move up into the outsole of these skates, this is where we see a massive difference. Starting off with the 3S skates over here, these feature a TPU outsole, which is essentially a fairly rigid material that will be on the base of the skate that connects the holder to the actual body of the boot itself. Now, this isn't going to be Bauer's unibody technology, which we see in the ultrasonic skates, although it looks very similar based on the way that the skate's been designed along the base and the heel section over here. But this is a TPU outsole. Now, as we move over onto the 3S Pros, these feature a composite outsole or a fully composite outsole. So unlike the TPU outsole, what you can expect in terms of the difference is it's going to be a much stiffer, a much more rigid material, and probably a little bit lighter based on the fact that it's a fully composite outsole. Now again, this isn't that unibody technology that we see in the ultrasonic skates, so don't be fooled by the design. It does look pretty good, and it is probably going to have a few performance benefits in terms of stiffening up the lower portions of the skate around the heel, but this is a composite outsole as opposed to what we see on the ultrasonics, which we'll come to in just a moment. Now, when we move on to the ultrasonics, this being the top spec or the flagship skate for the Supreme range, this features Bauer's unibody outsole, which is integrated with their 3D last curved composite. Now, what this is going to provide as opposed to a traditional composite outsole is going to be a much more stiff and rigid base. This is going to offer much more stability in the lower portions of the skates, and it's also going to help a little bit with durability as well. But what you can expect from those improvements or those differences is going to be a much more responsive skate. It's going to be what Bauer refer to as much more torsionally stiff. So any movement or flexing or kind of like striding in power and pushing that you're giving the skate while you're on the ice with it, the skate's not going to be contorting and twisting in any ways that it shouldn't be. Any movement or motion that you make inside this boot is going to be much more efficiently translated onto the blade vs the composite outsole or the traditional construction of a skate, and also much more better than what we see in the TPU outsole on the 3S. So the upgrades in the outsole are going to be one of the most significant things that I believe personally that you're going to notice and feel when we look at the ultrasonic skates versus the 2 generations below. Now from there, moving on to the quarter package of all 3 of these skates. When we start off with the 3S skates over here, this features what Bauer are referring to as a 3D lasted flex composite. Now when we move over to the 3S Pros, just looking at the skate without even having to feel it, you'll probably notice a big difference in the shape of the quarter package, especially around where the ankle bone would traditionally be. What I mean by that is we go from a flex composite to a 3D lasted curved composite. Now what that means is, aside from having a little bit more stiffness and rigidity as you would expect as you go from a lower level skate to a high performance skate, is it's going to be stiffer, those materials are going to get a little bit more premium, but also that 3D lasted curved composite in the 3S Pros means that it's more anatomically correct. The shape of the quarter package of the skate is going to be much closer to what your foot shape would be like. Now what this also means, aside from it being a better shape, so it's going to hug your foot and wrap around the foot better, is this particular type of skate is going to have better contact with your actual foot, which is going to result in better energy transfer, better performance with the skate. A better fitting skate is always going to be a better performing skate than one that doesn't fit you so well. In addition to this, the 3D lasted curved composite is going to be much more thermoreactive than what we see in the 3S. So that means that the skate is going to, once baked, hug to the shape of your foot a lot better than what we see on the other skates that are below this, offering you a much more custom-like and much more snug and secure fit while you're on the ice. Now, as we move up into the ultrasonics over here, the upgrades that you can see in this skate is going to be from the 3D last curved composite, we're going to a 3D lasted carbon curved composite. So again, much more premium materials. This is again going to be much more stiffer, and the thermoreactive properties are going to be very comparable in these 2 skates, but it being a carbon curved composite upper means that this is going to be much stiffer than what we see in these previous skates over here versus the ultrasonics. So again, this is going to be targeting that elite player, someone that's looking for the stiffest and most responsive skate that they can get. So you're going to have that 3D lasted carbon curved composite quarter package in these skates, meaning it's going to be stiffer, it's going to offer you better wrapping around the foot, it has those premium high quality materials that you expect in a top spec or a flagship skate. So essentially what you're getting when you move from here to here, stiffer, more responsive, better fitting, high performance materials, premium materials, everything you'd expect in a top spec skate. So from there, moving on to the toe box or the toe caps of these skates. If we look at the 3S's over here, you can see that this has a very traditional toe box. It's quite high, not asymmetrical in any way, shape or form, using the traditional materials that we've always seen. As we move on to the 3S Pros, you can see this uses an asymmetrical toe box, which also has carbon composite inserts. So that's going to help with the general weight of this particular area of the skate, and it also looks pretty sick, and it'll probably help a little bit with the durability as well. When we move on to the ultrasonics, it's using the exact same thing, asymmetrical toe box or toe cap, so very low profile. Essentially what this style of toe cap is going to do, aside from it looking cool and being lighter, it's much more form-fitting to your feet or your toes inside the skate. So any unnecessary or unwanted space is eliminated. So the skate's going to be much lighter, it's going to be much better fitting around your foot. And as I said previously, that's going to aid you in the performance that you have on the ice, because any space that is unnecessary inside a skate means that when your feet move around inside it, they're knocking around in empty space and it's a waste of energy. But if the skate is nice and snug and there's no unnecessary space, all the movements that you make are translated directly onto the blade, essentially resulting in a very responsive skate. Now from there, looking at the tendon guards on all 3 of these skates, if you look at the 3S Pros and also the ultrasonics over here, you can see that they have a very distinctive shape versus the 3S over here. This is just your traditional tendon that you would see on pretty much all of the older generations of skates that we've seen from Bauer, and also the models below this skate over here. But when we move on to the 3S Pros and also the ultrasonics, this features Bauer's reflex tendon. In this particular skate, it's called the guard reflex tendon, and the only distinctive difference that I can pick up on is the fact that just flexing the tendon back and forth, it feels like it's a little bit more flexible than what we see in the top spec ultrasonics. But they both are flexible. The ultrasonic one just felt a little bit more stiff than what we see in the 3S Pros. But effectively what this tendon guard offers, as opposed to the traditional fixed tendon, aside from my personal preference saying it's much more comfortable to have this tendon style versus the traditional, This particular tendon works in tandem with the Reflex Pro tongue, the flex facing, and also the tendon itself, which is called the reflex tendon. And all of these work together to create a better range of motion inside the skate to give the player essentially more stride efficiency on the ice. Now, this is something that, regardless of what your level is something that any player or skater will benefit from when you look at the technology that is essentially helping us skate with ease versus the traditional structure of a skate over here. So these are definitely big upgrades, and if you're looking for that particular feature, it kind of makes the decision very easy if you're deciding between the 3S and the 3S Pros. Now, of course, as I said, the only difference I've picked up on with this tendon versus that one is the flexibility and general stiffness of it. But aside from that, as best as I can make out, they look pretty much identical. Now, next up is going to be the tongues on all three of these skates. With the 3S over here, this features a traditional felt tongue. It does have a metatarsal guard there, but it isn't anywhere near as beefy as what you would expect in a higher level skate, so definitely bear that in mind. But the thickness of this tongue is definitely something that is going to help a lot with general comfort on the ice. But as we move on to the 3S Pros, these feature a 52-ounce felt tongue. Now, one thing I will mention is just feeling the tongues, the one on the 3S does actually feel, like this is just based on feel, thicker than what we see on the 3S Pros, despite this one over here being 52 ounce and this one being 48. In addition to this, the metatarsal protection that you get, or the lace pipe protection in the 3S Pros, is going to be a little bit better than what we would see in the 3S. And in addition, I will mention that the 3S Pros do feature a reflex tongue, 52 ounce reflex tongue, whereas these don't have the reflex technology incorporated in them. Now, as we move on to the ultrasonic skates over here, these feature the Reflex Pro tongue with dual injected inserts. Now, essentially what that breaks down to is the fact that the tongue is going to have much more lace pipe protection. You can see that the metatarsal or lace pipe protection that this skate has is also designed so that it doesn't restrict the tongue from being able to flex completely forward. This comes back to what we said about the reflex tendon, the reflex tongue, and the flex facing material or construction in the skate, all acting together to allow the player or the skater to have a full range of motion inside these skates. Now, as we look at the liners of all three of these skates, starting off with the 3Ss, these have a very traditional hydrophobic microfiber liner, which is going to be, again, super traditional. It's going to have moisture wicking properties to help the skate stay lighter and not retain as much water. Now, as we move up into the liners of the 3S Pros, these are going to feature a little bit more premium materials. In terms of the ankle padding, it's going to have the Aerofoam Plus, just to ensure that we're much more comfortable inside the skates. All of the moisture wicking benefits that you'd expect in this type of skate are going to be there to help keep the skate light, nice and dry. And the general durability of the liners is also going to have a slight improvement versus what we see in the 3S skates. Now, as we move over into the ultrasonics, the difference between these and the 3S Pro liners is going to be that these, in terms of the ankle padding, have Aerofoam Pro, which again is going to have a little bit more of a premium feel, a little bit more comfort, because this is a stiffer and much more high performance skate than what we see in the 3S Pros. So it's going to have that a little bit of additional comfort and also that a little bit of additional durability in the liners themselves, so they can hopefully last the life length of the skates. And another big difference between the liners on all three of these skates, if we look at the 3Ss, these aren't going to have the extra synthetic leathers in the high wear areas of the skates liners that tend to break down quicker than the rest of the liners themselves. You get these abrasion pads to help hopefully keep the liners lasting the life length of the skates themselves. This is going to be present in the 3S Pros and also the ultrasonic skates, but not in the 3S skates themselves. Now, when we look at the footbeds of all three of these skates, starting off with the 3S, these feature a Form Fit Plus footbed with memory foam. Now, I'm going to say this straight off the bat, looking at all three of the footbeds that came standard in these skates, of course, depending on where you buy them from, that could be different. The lowest level skate over here actually was the one that had the best footbed, in my opinion, because of the memory foams in the bottom, thicker, spongier, a little bit more comfortable than what we see in the other skates. With the 3S Pros, that featured Bauer's Lock Fit footbeds, which feature a kind of like gel-like material around the heel sections or the high heel sections and the forefoot, just to help to stop your foot from sliding around in there, whether you wear your skates with socks or without. Now, when we move over onto the ultrasonic skates, these feature a footbed that Bauer is referring to as the Dynamic Flex footbed. I said the same thing with CCM. I think this is when the manufacturers can go a little bit crazy on the names that they give their footbeds, because it's essentially a piece of foam with some rubber materials. I gave CCM stick for this, and I'm also going to give Bauer stick for this. It's just a standard footbed with some grips around it. Nothing special going on here. As always, guys, a big thank you for watching this video all the way to the end. If you've got any questions about any of the skates that we've covered or anything you'd like to see next in regards to sticks or other pieces of equipment like protective, leave your comments down below in the comment section. But as always, thumbs up, subscribe so you can stay up to date with all of the videos that we post. And a big thank you to Bauer UK for making this video possible. Make sure that you're subscribed, thumbs up, and I'll catch you in the next one, guys, when we look at the vapors. Take care.